Let's talk about something that's deeply personal, the intersection of our faith and our anxiety. Anxiety can feel like a storm. And if you're a person of faith, it can sometimes feel like that storm is putting you totally at odds with what you believe. So let's explore how we can navigate this together. And this is the question that weighs so heavily on so many hearts, right? It's this internal conflict, this feeling that if your faith, your iman, was just strong enough, you simply wouldn't feel this way. And wow, that is such a heavy burden to carry on top of the anxiety itself.
This really gets to the core of it. This feeling of guilt is incredibly common. The idea that faith should be this magic shield against all fear and worry, well, ironically, it can make the distress so much worse. It just creates this painful cycle of anxiety and then guilt about the anxiety. But what if we've been looking at this from the wrong angle all along?
So let's start by completely reframing this whole conversation, because this isn't about failure, not at all. It's about being human, and it's about understanding how our faith can meet us exactly where we are, especially in our moments of struggle. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The Quran isn't some rule book that shames us for being vulnerable. Actually, it's the complete opposite. It's a source of reassurance that totally acknowledges the reality of fear and grief and exhaustion. It's designed to give us grounding when we feel like we're floating away. And that leads us right into this really powerful tool, Quran journaling for anxiety. This is a practice designed specifically to help us process these feelings. And the key words here are anchoring, meaning, and reassurance. This isn't about pretending you're not anxious. It's about bringing your honest, real feelings into the presence of the divine. Okay, so before we jump into the how-to, it's so important that we approach this with the right mindset. Let's look at a few guidelines that make this practice both gentle and, really effective. These guidelines are absolutely crucial. First off, the point is to contain your emotions, not to shut them down. And peace might not be instant. That's okay. Sometimes clarity comes first. And notice this, repetition matters more than variety. You don't need a new verse every single day. The goal here, especially when you're feeling anxious, is stability, not some huge life-changing insight.
All right, let's get practical. The method itself is beautifully simple and structured, which, let's be honest, is exactly what our minds often need when we're feeling totally overwhelmed.
Here it is in just 4 simple steps. First, just name the feeling. I feel worried, I feel overwhelmed. No need to explain it or justify it. Then, read your chosen verse, slowly. Let the words really sink in. After that, just write one honest response. No pressure for it to be perfect poetry or anything. And finally, you close with a short prayer, a dua, or even just a simple grounding statement. That's it. Now, let's actually see what this looks like in practice. We'll use a couple of specific verses from the Quran that are just so powerful for these moments of worry. This is such a well-known and beloved verse. The repetition itself is a comfort, isn't it? Just sit with that for a moment. Indeed, with hardship comes ease. That the meaning here goes so much deeper than you might think. See, it's not saying after the hardship is over, then you'll find ease. The way the Arabic is structured, it actually means ease is a companion to the hardship. It exists right there alongside it, even if we can't always see it. It can be a moment of quiet, a kind word from a friend, or just taking a single deep breath. So using our 4-step method, you could reflect on one of these prompts. Maybe you just write about where the hardship feels the most intense. Or you could gently ask yourself, what small form of ease, no matter how tiny, might already be here with me? It's a really powerful way to shift your focus. Okay, let's look at another one. This verse speaks directly to the state of the heart, which is often where we physically feel anxiety the most, right? That tightness in our chest. And it promises that in the remembrance of God, our hearts can actually find rest. And again, the nuance here is everything. This is about rest, not escape. The challenges might still be there, the worries might not have just vanished into thin air, but this verse promises that it's possible for your heart to return to a state of calm and rest, even in the middle of all that difficulty. And this brings up a really, really critical point about what reliance on God, a concept known as tawakkul, actually means. Trusting in God doesn't mean we just sit back and become passive. It means we reframe our responsibility. We do our part, we take action, but we release our death grip on the final outcome, trusting that it's in better hands. It's an active partnership, not a passive waiting game. So as we start to bring this all together, it's so important to remember this isn't a one-time fix. This practice is about building a foundation of emotional and spiritual stability, one day at a time. You know, a fantastic way to get started is with this 7-day anchor verse practice. Just choose one verse that really resonates with you and commit to it for a week. Every day, you follow the same simple routine. It's this repetition that builds those new pathways for calm in our brains and creates a reliable anchor that our minds can return to. And a final, absolutely vital reminder. This spiritual practice is a powerful support, but it is not a replacement for professional help. Seeking therapy or medical care for anxiety is not a sign of weak faith. In fact, you could say it's a way of honoring the sacred trust, the amana, that you've been given over your own mind and body. Let's end on this beautiful thought. Maybe the peace we're all looking for isn't a life completely free of fear. Maybe, just maybe, it's a life where our trust is stronger than our fear. So, that's the question I want you to take with you. What is just one verse, maybe one we talked about today, or another one that you love, that could be your anchor for the next 7 days? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.